Hello and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics Live. I'm here. Sorry for the delay. Had some things I need to take care of. What's going on? Yes, we are here though, and we are live. Hey now, James is throwing a party. James down a mod, bad tidings, and Cycle Cleveland has the number one news topic. This is like Omar late. I know. I'm sorry. I got a sick kid at home. Had to go make sure he's all good to go. He's actually watching Teen Titans Go. It's a little bit on topic, right? Space Monkey, hello. How are you? Thanks, guys, for joining me. This is Taylor Talks Comics Live. If you've never been here before, welcome. And if for all the returning viewers, I appreciate you coming back. But yes, Taylor Talks Comics Live. We go live weekly. And it's gonna be on Tuesdays at noon for the foreseeable future for the next few weeks, and then I'm going to move things around for a couple weeks. But typically, it's on Tuesday at noon. We go live. We talk about all the comic book news. Talk to you guys. It's a live chat and all that good stuff. Real quickly though, let me go over this opening preamble. I do have a promo code at Organic Price Books, one of the best places to buy your comic books and graphic novels. You can go to Organic Price Books and use the promo code at the checkout. Taylor Talks Comics, all one word, and save $2 off of your order. If you plan on putting a bigger order in, ordering 4 books or more, you're going to use the TTC Ship It Together. That's all one word, TTC Ship It Together. That'll save you 5% off of that large order they're going to put in with 4 books or more. Both of those can be used at organicpricebooks.com. You can always email me if you want to get a hold of me and talk to me about any show ideas, comic book news topics, comic books you want me to cover, etc. You can email me at taylortalkspodcasts at email.com, taylortalkspodcasts at gmail.com. And on social media, you can follow me on Twitter at TMTalksComics and all other platforms at Taylor Talks Comics. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. And that is that over that kind of stuff. Sorry. I'm a little scrambled today. I'm trying to get a hold of my brain cells to get the show together. We do have all right, I have been doing videos, a lot of pre-recorded videos. I've now had a streak, I think, of 5 straight days with videos on my channel, so that's awesome. I'm hoping to continue that streak. I just filmed a new video this morning. It's an unboxing of books a box of books that I hauled yesterday. But videos, you can see that if you missed them, I did a Ultimate Collection Savage Dragon Volume 2. I did the Amazing Spider-Man Taschen Edition Volume 2. The X-Men John Byrne Artist Edition. And what was the other book I did? Trying to remember. The Spy vs. Spy Omnibus by DC Comics. So those are videos of the last week that you can look forward to. Like I said, I have a comic book haul video that I'm going to be releasing that video tomorrow, and there'll be some more videos the rest of the week. And what else? I think that's all for the plugs. Let's see what you guys are talking about before we get into the news. This is the number one news topic according to Cycle Cleveland. When will Mike Allred be on Omnidog's vault? The more important question is, when is he going to be on Taylor Talks Comics? Come on, Cycle. Who are you watching over here? No, I love Omnidog. I've been on his show a few times. Mike Allred is one of his favorite artists of all time. He's definitely my number one favorite artist that's currently active in comics, for sure, is Mike Allred. I would definitely love to interview him one day, but Omnidog would be a great... He would interview him in a great way, too. He's been a big fan of Mike Allred for years and years and years. He's on tour of YouTube shows this week. Oh, what else? I know he appeared on Kayfabe. Where else did he show up? I should have reached out to him. Just posted it in Kayfabe Ringside. What'd you just post? Oh, my show? Oh, well, thank you. If that's what you mean. I appreciate that. Yes, share my channel and my show with everybody. I'd really appreciate that. That's the number one way you can support me, is to share a link to any of my videos on your social media or to the show or whatever. Let people know what I'm doing over here. That's the the freest way to support me. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a little bit of your time. I do accept super chats though. If you want to support me financially, there is the option to super chat me down below as well. And then of course also the Organic Price Books promo codes. Sorry, my house makes this weird noise sometimes. If you use those Organic Price Books codes, like the one scrolling down at the bottom, I get a little kickback for that too. And so you save money on buying comics, and then I get a little kickback. So those are two financial ways, monetarily ways to monetarily support me. I'm sorry, guys. Let's take a deep breath. Brain scrambled. All right. Well, I've never seen James getting around in a Vespa. Have I missed anything, Josh? And my son loves Teen Titans Go. Yeah, the Teen Titans Go to the movies is what he's watching right now, which we saw that in theaters a few years ago. It's really funny. Is Kayfabe Ringside the unofficial Kayfabe Facebook group? Yes, that is not officially related or affiliated with Cartoonist Kayfabe at all. I think people do misconstrue that quite a bit. That was a group of fans of the Kayfabe YouTube channel that put that together. Jim Rugg does appear in that group from time to time, but Ed Piscor's never appeared in that group. But mostly just fans. It is Cycle. What's up with that group? Josh, are you involved with Kayfabe? I've heard it's bad news. Ed completely disowned it. Publicly, at least. No, I don't think it's not bad news. I mean, just like any other Facebook group, there's drama sometimes. I don't think Ed disowned it in that way. I think he just disassociated himself with it to make sure that I think he just made it clear that he's not associated with that group officially. So which is, I mean, probably the safest thing to do, because if something happens in that group, you don't want him to get any blowback for it if he's not doing anything with that group. But no, I mean, there's drama from time to time. There's people being stupid, but I think it's one of my favorite Facebook groups to be a part of, honestly, because it's just a lot of like-minded comic book fans that are into the same stuff that the Cartoonist Kayfabe guys are into, like super deep underground indies, as well as even like Image, early 90s, Rob Liefeld, Tom McFarlane, like just like all that kind of mixed in manga. I think there is more talk on that group of modern comics, more so than the Kayfabe YouTube page, because Ed and Jim don't really talk about a lot of modern comics. So there's a little bit of that too. I love that group though. I don't think it's bad news. Now just helping spread the word on this channel. Even though Taylor becoming a problem with books and now that's a good thing. Your comic book collection will thank you. And I hope your son feels better soon, Taylor. Me too. I think it's just like a really bad cough. He's nothing serious. He just has a really bad cough. But thank you. I do appreciate that. Good point. I hope Allred makes more rounds. He seems like a fun goof. I love Allred. He's such a cool guy. When will you join OmniDog again? We've been trying to put that together. He's invited me the last couple batter days. He sent out an invite to me, asking me if I was available, but it was December, and I think I had family functions on both days, or I can't remember. Yeah, I was busy both days, so I couldn't make it. But we're working on something. I will be on OmniDog again for sure. I love talking to Jess. He's one of my favorite comic book YouTubers and just my favorite guys to talk about comics with. Mike had a crazy dope looking room he was in. I would love a room tour of like Mike Allred's collection. That'd be cool. Good question, James. Really enjoyed when they were together before. Yes, OmniDog and I will get together again. Match made in heaven. Well, thank you, Cycle. Nate Garcia, what'd you have for breakfast, Taylor? Be honest. Well, first of all, thank you, Nate, for joining me. We talked about you a lot on the show. I'm trying to see if I have one of your comics handy. Oh man, I wasn't prepared, Nate. I think I got Flippy around here somewhere. Hold on. Yes, look, Nate Garcia's in the house, and I found my stack of Nate Garcia comics. So Nate Garcia, the commenter I have highlighted there, is the cartoonist that put Flippy together, and I believe he's got copies available. Nate, right? You got copies in your web shop. Follow Nate Garcia cartoons, I believe, on Instagram, and you can find him. Oh, geez, sorry, bumped the mic. But Nate Garcia is an incredible cartoonist. We talk about him quite a bit on the show, especially with Cycle Cleveland in the house. And this is his latest comic, Flippy. It's on this great newsprint, almost like treasury sized, like larger than a normal comic book issue. But he's like this 21-year-old kid. Nate, sorry I call you a kid, but I'm an old guy. And he first sent me out his stuff when he was 18, and he sent me out a couple of his early comics, Horn Rim and something else. And I was blown away. I did a video on my channel showing it off. I think it's called Cartoonist You Should Know, Nate Garcia. Totally like this cartoonist. He's going to be a huge name. It's only a matter of time before he gets a awesome collection of his Alonzo Sneak comics published by Fantagraphics or Drawn and Quarterly or one of these other bigger name publishers. This one was published by Domino Books, and so he's gotten his stuff published in certain places. I think he had an appearance in a Fantagraphics collection because you were in the summer annual by Simon Hanselman last year. I don't know if I have that handy or not. But regardless, Nate Garcia is awesome. Make sure to follow him. Thank you for joining me, though. What do I have for breakfast? I can answer your question now. I had a breakfast pita burrito thing. It was like a frozen, healthy burrito that had like spinach and artichoke in it or something, and white egg whites. That's what I had for breakfast. That's the honest answer. And he's also saying, "What's up to Cycle?" The number one news question. You're doing a good job, Taylor. Breathe. Thank you. Darth Twinkle Proxy. I think that's a new name in the house. Thank you for joining me. Be honest. I was. That was an honest answer. Johnny, I want to see James with a Vespa now. That'd be a cool t-shirt. James on a Vespa, and it just says super producer on it. Who's going to buy me a Vespa now? Cycle, I'm having a beautiful morning. Cigarette. The show is great to draw to. Nate Garcia drawing while he's watching my show. I'm so blown away. What are you drawing, Nate? Are you working on the next issue of Alonzo Sneak? You got a secret project you're working on? Let us know. Give us the tip here as we go over all the comic book news. Give us the scoop. If there's any drama I should join, are they ready for me? Cycle, I don't know if they're ready for you. You can be intense. No, I think you would. I think you'd be a great addition to that group. I think you've got some great opinions to share with the comics. Causes more drama than anything. Breathe, Cycle. If James is going to be a mod, then he's going to have to be a mod. No holds barred. I love modern comics. The most modern comic I've read and loved is Flippy. Everyone should get this key issue. First appearance of Murray. Yes. And I know Nate's posted a lot of his early comics, like Horn Rim and his early sketchbooks and stuff. People have been flipping on eBay for like $100 a piece and stuff. And Nate, I saw your post the other day about it, about how you don't like to reprint things. You only like to release new comics. But I mean, the easiest way to drive those prices down and to put some money back in your pocket is to reprint those things. Make them not scarce and make them available for people. And then you can benefit from some of these crazy prices that people are selling them for. I've not sold any of my Nate Garcia stuff, though. Don't worry. I think I'm pretty sure I have a copy of everything you've released except for your most recent sketchbook. I missed out on that one. But I have all of your comics and stuff. Technically, first appearance of Peggy. Mine is at CGC. Don't lie. You have not CGC'd a Nate Garcia book. Nate affiliated with Big Cartel. I wouldn't mess with him. No, I spinach and artichoke, no cheese. I think there's cheese. There was cheese in it. I don't know. It was some little burrito thing I bought. No flipping. We play by Larry Sanders rules here. Oh yeah, no flipping. No changing the channel. Every mod I know has or is planning on having a Vespa. Oh, is that like a mod joke? I get it now. I'm a little slow on that. That was like the originals, like from Dave Gibbons, how those guys all drove like those. They were like flying Vespas or whatever. But that's I'm on. I understand now. Mod. I get it. Pun. All the puns intended. Whoa! I got so that's Nate Garcia. You made history here. You're the first comics maker to appear on my show in any capacity. I'm hoping to get some interviews though. I keep saying that, but I did reach out to some people. One of which I think will be coming on hopefully next month sometime. He said he's a little bit busy this month, but I'm hoping to get some. I want to do some cool interviews. Like one of the people I'm reaching out to is the gentleman that does the restoration for the Fantagraphics Atlas library. Like Marvel Comics has licensed out the Atlas library over to Fantagraphics, and Alan Harvey is the guy's name, and he does all the restoration work on those. And I love the restoration he does. He also did the restoration on Atlas at War. If you guys have got that hardcover, and so I'm trying to get him on there because I think I want to do like cool interviews like that with people that are they don't get interviewed so often, but they do hold a big part in comics and the collection of comics that I own. Another one I'd like to get is Scott Dunbier, but a little teaser. He'll be appearing on. I don't even know if I might be speaking out of school here. I don't know if I can announce this or not, but I'm going to anyways because this is Taylor Talks Comics, where you get the news. But Scott Dunbier will be appearing on Near Mint Condition, I think next week or the week after, for an interview with Omar. And he told me yesterday I was just talking about these artist editions because Scott Dunbier is the guy that puts all those together. And I just mentioned like Scott Dunbier, he does such great work. And he's like, "Oh, I'm interviewing him next week." And I was like, "What? You're interviewing Scott Dunbier? No way." So there's a little teaser there. But he's a guy I'd like to interview too because again, one of these lesser named people that they don't do the rounds of YouTube interviews a lot, but I think they would be really interesting guests and they have really interesting histories with comics that I think you guys would be interested in, and I'm interested in. So, and then also I'd like to get some comics makers on here too, not just people that put comics together, but a Nate Garcia interview would be great if you're still listening. Mike Allred would be awesome. All these guys. So, oh, Taylor asked for Mike Allred and got Nate Garcia. Major upgrade. I can't disagree. Taylor R. Murrow. What? I don't get that. What's that? The Brave and the Boys is in the house. Finally made it to a live show. Yes, I'm going to appear on Brave and the Boys. I'm the worst with. Jake has been trying to get me on his show, and I keep. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Sorry. Good point, Jake. I'm going to make it on a show. He keeps reaching out to me, and I keep confuddling with my schedule. It's hard for me to appear on people's shows because the best time for me to record stuff is during the day on weekdays. And in the evenings and weekends and stuff, I try to spend time with my family. But like I will make rare exceptions. Like I've shown up on OmniDog's Vault a couple times and whatnot. But we're gonna get something together. I will appear on Brave and the Boys. Don't worry. But yes, before I get to that, what about the creator of Bang? Yes, I apologize, Josh Greathouse. Massive apologies. Josh Greathouse is the first comics creator that appeared on the show in any capacity with his comic Bang the Ballad of the Tiger. So sorry for that. But yes, Nate Garcia is number 2. Bang design was based off of the mod and British Guard cops. Oh, I like to hear those insights, those behind the scenes. Omar says he doesn't collect artist editions. Oh, how things change. Well, I think what happened there was that a certain company started sending him artist editions to review. And I think some fans sent him some artist editions because he always said that, which I've said the same thing, was that I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's a dangerous rabbit hole to go down. But one thing I've been working on is like really culling my collection and downsizing the amount of books I have, and then that's allowed me to have space and a little bit of money to get these artist editions. Come on, guys, let's keep it going. Don't let them get to the first topic. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, that's. I do have a few news topics today too. This would have been better for a previous week when I didn't have so much news. Edward R. Murrow, famous old TV news guy. Come on, Taylor. Oh, Taylor Armour. Okay, sorry. If you would have said like Taylor Cronkite, I would have definitely got it. You're not a Walter Cronkite guy? Cronkite? Brave and the Boys, is that you, Jake? I'm assuming it's Jake. Just got a library card and got Libby and Hoopla. I'm assuming you mean Hoopla. Your life is about to change. Hoopla is amazing. It's an amazing app. This is not an advertisement. I don't have any affiliation with Hoopla, but they, if they're associated with your library, which if your library does not associate with Hoopla, then ask them to. But it's an app, and you just need a library card to sign up with it. But you can check out, it depends on your library, but you can check out like anywhere from like 5 to 8 books at a time every month. And like Image puts everything they have out there on Hoopla. Dark Horse has everything they put out on Hoopla, including manga, including out of print manga, like Appleseed's on there. And then Marvel and DC put a lot of their stuff out there, but I don't want to say everything for them because their libraries are massive and they don't have everything on there. Fantagraphics puts a lot of stuff on there too. So a lot of incredible, great comics are on Hoopla. All good, man. I'm a fan. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you accepting my apology. You know it, Johnny. Taylor issuing a retraction. This is true. It's true. It's a retraction. I needed like an alert. I hope they do more announcements for these artist editions, budging and all. Yeah, so the one that came out yesterday it's been solicited. I think Kenny over at the Omnibus Collectors Facebook group found it. Was X-Men by Paul Smith. So we're gonna have X-Men by John Byrne, X-Men by Paul Smith, X-Men by Dave Cockrum is coming out later this year. And then there's a Jim Lee one as well. But those three I want for sure is the John Byrne, Cockrum, and Smith, because those are like the 3 pillar artists that worked on X-Men in the early Claremont years. Oh, and then of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't. The artist edition I'm waiting for the most, which if I made a list of like my most wanted artist editions, that'd be a good video actually. Let me write that down. My most wanted artist editions. But my most wanted, if I made a list of them, it would be Batman Year One would appear on there, and that one is coming later this year, and I believe it's going to have every single page in there, because some of these artist editions, which if you've watched my videos, like the John Byrne one and the Frank Miller one, they don't collect full issues in there. They're just like all of the original art pieces they can find. Which, Nate, if you're watching, I know you sell some of your original art, but I hope you're scanning them in at least. So because one day there's going to be a Nate Garcia artist edition, and you're going to have to make sure you have those scans in there so you can put together an artist edition of your early stuff all the way through all your years. But I digress. But some of them do collect full issues, like the Rocketeer. The Rocketeer artist edition is amazing because it collects the entire thing. So if you have like the Rocketeer hardcover slipcase that IDW just reprinted, their artist edition that they have collects every single page in there, in both of those. So it's 2 different ways to read it. Excuse me. But Batman Year One, I think we'll have every single page in there, and also a ton of other stuff. So I guess Mazzucchelli kept all that stuff from the making of that. Isn't Nick in 3rd or 4th place because of Connor Craig and Hannah Williams? Dang it. Okay. I'm going to stop counting now. I didn't realize I keep forgetting I have so many awesome comics makers in the chat sometimes. Okay. So Nate Garcia is one of a handful of comics creators that have made it onto the channel. I think Taylor owns stock in Dark Knight Strikes Again. I should. That's one of the topics that I'm going to go on Jake's channel and talk about, is my defense of Dark Knight Strikes Again, because I feel like it's very much misunderstood. So that'll be a topic. I do want to put a whole presentation together, because I think explaining why I think it's misunderstood, and explaining what I think Frank Miller was going for, because I think that's the misunderstood piece, is that Frank Frank Miller in himself is like an iconoclast, and that's what made Dark Knight Returns so great. Was that it was so different than anything else that we were getting on the shelves. And Frank Miller just continued with every run he's done, starting with Daredevil on. Every run of comics he works on is like he's pushing the envelope more and more and more. Dark Knight Strikes Again, people feel like, yeah, he pushed the envelope, but maybe he missed. I don't know. We'll talk about that though. Jake, I was going to hit Jess up for your email after the show. Could maybe use some help. There's random noise in my house. It keeps going off. Sometimes it goes off like every few hours, but it's been going off a lot today. I don't know what the deal is. Always here to offer support, friend. Justin Taylor both have my email. I can get it to Jake if he's looking for it. Is it Jim Lee Artist Edition or a Scott Williams Artist Edition? Well, I mean, that's a good point, though. Like the John Byrne one for X-Men very much is a John Byrne, Terry Austin Artist Edition because they're inked pages. It's not just penciled. And you can make the argument for any of these Artist Editions that don't have the that the artist doesn't do the inking and penciling. You can make that argument for all of them that they should have two names attached. But your point's made. I think he has to scan pages to get them printed. Well, I hope he's but I hope he's scanning in like the original art. Yeah, okay. So he probably scans them in and then he touches them up digitally, maybe. I don't know. Nate's he's in the chat. I see him again. I need that Toth one. Oh, the Bravo. I need that one too. I want that one too. Nate Garcia original art looks incredible in person. I can report. So you've bought some. Taylor upset that he has so many comic creator fans. Oh, hard time. I know. I'm not upset. I'm upset with myself for forgetting some people. Working on a new comic for an upcoming issue of Smoke Signal newspaper in New York, published by Desert Island. That's awesome. So are you doing like the whole issue? Like the whole, like, cause I know like Smoke Signal, which I forget the gentleman's name that owns Desert Island, but he publishes Smoke Signal and it's like a free, I have some. I don't know if I can get to them. I don't know. They're over there somewhere. But there's like a free like fold-up newspaper, and if you go to the shop, Desert Island, it's in Brooklyn. You can just pick them up a free copy with purchase, and then he also sells them for like I don't know how much, $5 maybe on his website. I don't know how much he sells them for, but it's gone like I think they're closing in on 30 issues of Smoke Signal. And then later, though, I think around issue 18 to 20, I don't have my numbers right. He started, it became like where every issue was just about one artist. So before that, it was like an anthology type deal. But then he started doing just one artist at a time. So, Nate, are you doing like the full issue? Because if so, that's awesome. And Desert Island is a great comic book shop. If you've not been there, if you're in the Brooklyn area, you have to go to Desert Island. I went to New York a couple years ago for vacation around Christmas time. It was when I graduated actually from Penn State. So we went to Penn State and then we flew to New York. And I did a bunch of comic book shopping I actually did a video on this, my New York comic book haul. If you look at my comic book haul playlist, look for the one that says New York on it. And I show off all the stuff I got on that trip. But one of the places I went to was Desert Island in Brooklyn, and I actually got lost out there walking around because I took like the metro to Brooklyn and then got lost looking for the shop and then found it. And then I got lost trying to get back to the hotel. It's a fun little adventure, but Desert Island's a great shop. Anyone that's in the Brooklyn area should go to that. Yes. I've been subbed to Desert Island Mystery Box since the Plum Pocket variant. The Desert Island Mystery Box does seem like a really cool deal. Nate, what's the best way to purchase a copy of Goiter? Nate's not the one that does Goiter. But yes, pre-order Goiter collection is in the previews. It's being put out by Floating World Comics. Floating World's a great publisher. I actually have a Floating World comic right here. Monster Fan Club. Shaky Kane artwork right there. I love Shaky Kane. So good. Everybody, you should pick this up too. I think issue 2 came out, but I haven't got that yet. But yeah, Nate Garcia does he did Flippy, and then he does Alonzo Sneak came out with Horn Rim. I'm trying to think of some of the other names of his comics. But Alonzo Sneak's the main character he works on. Holy blank, a whole issue of Smoke Signal would be amazing, right? I agree. You have to pre-order Smoke Signal if you want to buy them online from them. This issue is a special anthology. Oh, okay. So Nate, so it won't be a whole issue of Nate. It's an anthology issue. How do you pre-order them though? Do you have to like is it like a Patreon type deal or is it? I don't know. I'd like to show off more Desert Island stuff. Maybe the mystery box thing would be cool. Or sometimes stores like Partners and Sons get copies, I think. A bunch of New York cartoonists are going to be in the issue. Brave and the Boys, I don't make goiter. I am not Josh Pettinger. You should be ashamed. LMAO, Cult of Austin Manson. Walking Away in Shame. Super Laughard's in the house. Hey, Taylor, hope it's all good. Super Laughard, thank you for joining me. Oh, the chat slowed down a cycle. Sorry. You failed. I'm going to have to be going to the news now. Nate said it'll be online for pre-order when it's announced, I believe. Okay. Because like I said, I think the only thing I'm missing of yours that you've released is the latest sketchbook you came out with, which I think you've only done 2 sketchbooks that you've published, right? The original one that came out with the Horner in 1 and 2, and then the latest one, which is the only one I missed. Everything else I have of yours still. Haven't flipped them on eBay. Oh man, now the chat's going again. How are you? Super Laugh Hard. They will post how to get it and often give hints about what will be in the mystery box. Super Laugh Hard is the backbone of comic book YouTube, acquiring Eagle Moss Books, and I will make an overview or review this year. Thank him. I finally started Mike's Madman, and I want it all red. You want it all red. Madman's amazing. Mike Allred is amazing. Yeah, Madman Library. I think Volume 5 just came out recently, which again I've not picked up. I need it. I have a huge list of things that I would like to pick up, but it'll stay in print for a while. But Mac, his Madman Volume 6 is gonna be the last one to come out, and that comes out later this year, I believe. All right, let's get to the news. The news. I need like a jump cut there, and then but keep the chat lively. Keep it going. We'll definitely after each news piece, I'll get back to the chat. How about that? Let's start off with this one. I don't know how this is going to show up on my
nose. Dad,
sorry for any audio errors here. I have to. It's going to take me a minute to get this set up. Sorry. Stay tuned. What is this? StreamYard's trying to offer me things while I'm doing a show. I'm doing a show right now, StreamYard. No, what? Hold on a second. Now it's got as if I have a guest on here. Present, share screen. Okay. Sorry, StreamYard's like, hey, do you want to try this? Like, yes, in the middle of a show, I'd like to try something I've never done before. Sounds like a great time to do that. Okay. So now let's do this again. Presenting our first piece of news. Boom. All right. There's going to be a bunch of pop-up ads here and whatnot. All right. So here we go. This is coming from comicbookmovie.com, but it was first, I guess, reported or rumored, I guess, from Rob Liefeld on his Robservations podcast. But this is Jim Lee was rumored to be, Marvel Comics reportedly tried to poach DC's Jim Lee to take charge of upcoming relaunch of X-Men. With X-Men's Krakoa era starting to wind down, Marvel Comics has plans to relaunch the mutant team, according to Rob Liefeld, that involve trying to bring DC Comics Jim Lee back into the fold. Jim Lee's X-Men run is blah, blah, blah. We know that. We know his X-Men run was a top-selling deal. I don't want to subscribe. Can you just let me read your website? These days, he is DC Comics publisher and CCO, making him a pivotal part of what we see from these characters on the page and screen. The X-Men are currently undergoing changes. All right. Talking on his Robservations with Rob Liefeld podcast, the Deadpool co-creator revealed that Marvel approached Lee about leaving DC last spring and wanted him to illustrate the next X-Men series. he'd have also been enlisted to shape the franchise moving forward, and we'd be shocked if he wasn't eyed for some sort of executive role to boot. For a number of reasons, Lee chose to remain with DC. Still, we can't help thinking how exciting it would have been. Blah 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 blah. So the reason why I want to bring this up because, well, one, it's fun to think about, but two, this is how not with Jim Lee in particular, because I didn't think that was even a possibility, but the Krakoa Age of X-Men was a huge deal. Jonathan Hickman came on. It was a big seller, very popular, and very good start, in my opinion. I didn't get too far deep into the Krakoa era. At a certain point, I fell off of getting those like anthology trade paperbacks, like the Dawn of X ones. But sorry, the sound's going off again. But yeah, so the Krakoa era is great, but it's very like cerebral and like high concept and yeah, it was very different for X-Men. So I kept talking to my friends. I was like, the only way out of this for them to go, because if they try to just like slowly change out of the Hickman era and stay in that zone of like the Krakoa kind of type deal, then it's going to fail. And it's just going to seem like a watered down version of that. The only way out would be to go total opposite of what they were doing and go like bombastic, extreme early 90s style with getting some of these creators back. I didn't think Jim Lee was even a possibility, which it seems like he was not a possibility because he's the president of DC Comics. You can't ask the president of DC Comics to come and draw a comic book for your competitor. Like it's such a demotion for him. Unless he had like a passion for it, I can't see it happening. But get a Rob Liefeld to come in. Get like an Eric Larson who never really did a mutant book, but he did pitch a couple. Get some of these Dan Podosian or like some of these other 90s artists that are Joe Mad maybe known for that era of popularity, and get them to come back and do like this bombastic, extreme, action-packed style. That's the only way to pull out of the Krakoa era, in my opinion, is to go complete opposite. So when I heard this, it was interesting to me because I was like, oh, they did have the same idea. Now they are relaunching it regardless, with or without Jim Lee. And if that's true, if what Rob Liefeld is true, which he does know some stuff, he has some inside knowledge of things. It does sound like they are kind of going that route. I don't know if they're going as extreme and like total opposite direction as I would do if I was the editor. But it does seem like they're going to go totally opposite of what Krakoa was, which is cool. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this news? Let me catch up with you guys. Last one, really great. Okay. Last one is really great, including the latest Julia Collet comic and an anthology called Clamp with a great Nick Garcia cover. The last what? Man is Fun. Volume 5 just came out last month. I'm still out of sync from New Year's Eve. Really? Is the Jim Lee Artist Edition... Oh, wait. Did we already get that? I think we already said that. Did you repeat that? Wow, Jim Lee might solve everything, huh? I don't know. I don't know if it solve everything. And to be honest, could you really even count for Jim Lee to be the artist on more than like 8 issues? Like if he came in, would he wouldn't be the long-term interior artist? Like when's the last time he's done interior art for more than like a dozen issues or something? You know, like he'll do like these miniseries here and there. But it would sell massively for sure. Like, I don't think it would break his record of X-Men #1 that sold like 8 million copies, but it would be the best-selling comic of the year for sure, whatever that first issue would be. But, you know, one day. It would be either that, the closest we'll ever come to breaking X-Men #1, which I don't think we ever will. I think it's a record like Michael Jackson's Thriller CD sales, or album sales, which will never be broken. But I think the closest we'd get would be Jim Lee coming back to X-Men or Todd McFarlane coming back to Spider-Man. Both of which I don't think will ever happen. I think we're more likely to see Todd McFarlane come back to Spider-Man, which is a huge, like, not very possible. That's even like a 1% chance because Todd McFarlane has his druthers with Marvel. Especially after the whole Miracle Man and Neil Gaiman issues and all these other things. Todd McFarlane coming back to Marvel would be massive, but if he did, it would be a huge top seller. I know everyone loves Jim Lee. Jim Lee, I couldn't be wrong, but feels like we need new ideas, not repeats. Yeah, that's so. If I was editor of Marvel, that'd be my way to pull us out of Krakoa, which would be like this bombastic '90s extreme stuff, and that'd last about a year. That would just be to break the ice, to break apart like people's conceptions of what's going on with X-Men, and then from there, either branching out from there or another kind of soft reset. You'd be getting like a whole bunch of new cartoonists in there to take off after all those veterans get done. And I think that's one thing that's missing is like having a which Rob Liefeld made a post about this on Twitter last weekend, and I couldn't agree with it more. I even shared that like this so much this 100% this. Rob Liefeld's exactly right with this point, but he was talking about how artists today are too worried about anatomy. Which I know people are like, Rob Liefeld, of course you would say that. Insert feet joke here. But too worried about anatomy, that style's gone away. And he posted examples of like Sam Keith and Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. He posted I'm trying to figure out who else he posted. But regardless, he made a good point that we don't have these like stylized artists anymore in the big two. And I think that's what's missing from the comics. That's what kind of turns me off from a lot of the big two comics, modern comics, is that the art is all representative of like this super like photorealistic artwork, that it's lost that flavor to it that I think is like makes an artist an artist. That you can like pinpoint and pick out their art out of a lineup. That and exaggerating the figure, like that is cartooning 101. Like exaggerating the figure to tell a story. Like Fist of the North Star, great manga, and which I think was a direct inspiration for Rob Liefeld. If you read that manga, you can see like, yeah, Rob Liefeld was definitely reading this stuff in the late 80s, early 90s, because he was in LA. They had a lot of manga shops there. They weren't translated, so he was just looking at the pictures probably, but his art is very much reminiscent of it. But like there'd be scenes where the main character would all of a sudden look like he has like 600 extra muscles and he's like a giant. And comparatively, people would like pick that apart if like today's on Twitter, if this comic was coming out today, they're like, this character is growing in size and changing from panel to panel or page to page. When really like that's like cartooning 101. Like that's exaggerating the figure to tell a story. Like in this moment, he's not actually 600 feet tall and has like 600 extra muscles. And in this moment, he's like, it's like that adrenaline hulking up kind of moment of like the mom lifting the car up to save the kid kind of thing. That's like cartooning to tell a story. And I don't think that a lot of artists do that in the big two today. So I think pulling out of what this bombastic extreme X-Men phase, I'd be getting even like big names like Dana Warren Johnson. I'd be getting him on a book for 12 issues. I'd be getting like, Greg Capullo was another name of a veteran I would bring back, which I think he is coming back to Marvel. But like Dana Warren Johnson, a very stylized artist. James Herron, I think would be great to put onto a book. Nick Cagnetti, I'm a big fan of, and I think his dream book would be to do a Spider-Man book, but his art is so awesome and stylized. I could definitely pick his out. It's very much inspired by like Steve Ditko and Mike Allred and these guys, like that pop art kind of stuff. Give him a book. So you have all your X-Men books kind of have like the signature style to it. Martin Simmons, heck, have Martin Simmons do a New Mutant story like Bill Sienkiewicz did a New Mutant story. I don't know. Like those are the ideas I'd be thinking of. So like have all these veterans come back to like boost the numbers up, but then branching out of that, you have to have all these like newer names to come up to really carry through, because Liefeld and Lee aren't going to be doing more than a year's worth of books probably. So that's my pitch. Marvel, if you want me to be your EIC, I'm available. Lee hasn't done much with DC overall. Well, I think that's, I don't know if that's fair, because he's taken over an executive role. So he's doing a lot of executive type role business stuff. So as far as an artist, I agree, but he's moved up. Not everyone loves Jim Lee. I'll be honest, Jim Lee's an incredible artist, and I like Jim Lee a lot, but he wouldn't be in my top 25 comic book artists of all time. I don't think. So I'm not a huge Jim Lee fan myself, but I'm not but I know his value, and I know that him coming back, it wouldn't excite me. Like, it would excite me personally from, like, I would like to see what it would look like, but I know it would excite so many people that it'd be a top seller. Psycho loves Jim Lee. Second biggest news topic. Will Jasper Jubenville be the new Spawn cover artist? Discuss. I do love that. So Todd McFarlane, I guess that's a news topic. Todd McFarlane put out a call that he's going to, I think it's for Spawn 350, right? That he's putting he's putting out a variant covers where he has put out a contest for up and coming cartoonists to draw covers for him, and he's going to pick like a handful of them. I don't know the numbers, but Jasper Jubenville did a cover variant and sent it in, and it would be an awesome pick for McFarlane. I don't know if he'd pick it because it seems to be more out there than his style. But I don't have the cover image that he shared, but I do have this Dynamite Diva. This is Jasper's comic that he came out with. This is a thick stack of comics. I mean, it's a thick spine comic, and it's incredible. Like, this is another incredible output by another young cartoonist like Nate Garcia. Jasper is, I think, around the same age as Nate. Correct me if I'm wrong. But incredible stuff, and he's done more Dynamite Diva since then. But he's the one that Cycle's referencing here. I'm not up to date with X-Men. I feel like they should keep the current storyline going and just go nuts with it. Then just have another line that brings back to basic. Yeah, I think it's just kind of petered out. And unfortunately, this is not official news because I haven't done like the deep research. I'll just explain the rumors. But I think early on, Jonathan Hickman got kind of, he didn't get it put together. So Jonathan Hickman came back and did X-Men, and it was presented to him, to my understanding, presented to him that, like, you have full reins. Do whatever you want. We believe in you. You're a top-selling writer. Let's do this. And he was like, not only writing X-Men, but he was also in charge of the whole X office kind of thing. Like, he was overseeing all of the X books. And then, this is the rumor part. It was rumored that Jonathan Hickman really wanted to do something major with Franklin Richards. He wanted Franklin Richards to be a massive part of the story. Franklin Richards was a character. He's the son of Reed and Sue. He was a character that Jonathan Hickman started building some blocks with in his Fantastic Four run, and it seemed like he wanted that story to continue and to branch off into his X-Men run and become a big deal. The rumor, though, was that Dan Slott at the time was writing Fantastic Four, and Dan Slott said, no, Franklin Richards is a Fantastic Four character. He's mine. I'm going to do something with Franklin. And Jonathan Hickman was upset, disgruntled, had to veer off, change some things. And then it wasn't right at that time, because I think he still lasted on X-Men for a year and a half after that. But Jonathan Hickman didn't finish his story. And when it came out that he was leaving X-Men and he was handing over the reins to, I think, Jerry Duggan, maybe. The story was that Hickman was like, this is just chapter 1 of my X-Men stuff. We got some good stuff cooking here with all these other artists and writers. I'm going to step away, let them have this play out for a little bit longer. And then when I go to chapter 2 and chapter 3 of X-Men, I'll come back one day. So that was the thing. I was like, he's stepping away. He'll have chapter 2 and chapter 3 finish off one day. As a fan, I was like, okay, good. As long as he gets to finish the story. But then he stepped away. We didn't hear from him. And now it appears that he is doing this Ultimate Comics line. He's doing Ultimate Spider-Man. And this Ultimate line actually is kind of what I would imagine would be cool for what I was just describing as like pulling out of the bombastic extreme reboot of X-Men or soft reboot to get some of these young cartoonists. It seems like they're doing that because in this new Ultimate phase, we have Peach Momoko is doing the Ultimate X-Men, which sounds awesome. And then we have the artist from 20th Century Men, the Image comic book, is doing the artwork for the Ultimates. So they are doing these like a little bit more stylized artists on these Ultimate books. So the Ultimate books seem to be a little bit what I value from Big Two Comics, a little bit different stuff. with that said, I don't know if Jonathan Hickman will ever return to finish his X-Men comics. I don't know if chapter 2 and 3 will ever happen, but if they were, and maybe now Dan Slott's gone from FF, and Ryan North's taken over. Maybe Jonathan Hickman can come back and pull Franklin Richards into the fold. Who knows? Eagles' greatest hits sold more than Thriller. Retraction. Is that true? Hold on. Is that true? I want to see numbers because I never heard that before. Every time I looked at all-time album sales, like Thriller, like it's like a bar graph, and Thriller is like all the way over here, and like number 2 is like right here, and number 3, number 4, number 5. I don't think you can blame that on artists. That's editor and pay. Well, absolutely. Okay, yeah. Social media tearing apart would do that. Well, that's a thing too. McFarlane doesn't have the guts to pick Jasper. Well, maybe not. Jasper is 34, but takes nightly milk baths. Oh, okay. So Jasper is a little bit older. Why do I think he's the same age as Nate? I don't know. Richard's in the house. Richard Fearing. Happy New Year to you. I just ordered Devil's Reign Omnibus. Can't wait for Judgment Day Omnibus. Leaning towards the Gleason cover, but both are good. I'm excited for Omnis in 2024. Yeah, me too. Just offhand, nobody asked me, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Omnibuses I'm looking forward to this year. Off the top of my head, definitely Silver Age Superman #1, Volume 1. That's like the wacky Superman stuff. I can't wait to get into that. Bronze Age Green Lantern is going to be great because I don't think it's called Bronze Age Green Lantern. I think it's called Hard Traveling Heroes. That includes all the Neil Adams stuff, Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil, Green Lantern, Green Arrow stuff, but also the Mike Grell stuff that followed, and it's probably some more stuff. And then Flash by Mesner Loebs. I think it's a big DC year for me as far as omnibuses go. And then Rom and Micronauts will be cool. I do remember Jim Lee's Superman standing atop a gargoyle. Maybe another mage or two of his back then as well. Going by U.S. album sales, worldwide album sales are completely unverifiable. Well, give me the numbers. What are the numbers? I need give me the facts, Cycle. I feel like Jim Lee hasn't taken DC in a new direction or tried anything. It feels like they are kind of in a holding place and just doing the same thing. I will say, doing Webtoon was a smart move. I will say that. And I don't know. It's hard to tell what was Jim Lee and what was Dan Didio, especially when they're both like co-president or whatever, which I think that only lasted like a year. But even when Jim Lee was like a step below Dan Didio, who was in charge of what. But those are some moves that I like DC doing. They're going to Webtoons, which is they're going to find the market, which is something I talk about on this show all the time, is that people talk about how American comic book sales are down, but manga's killing, blah, blah, blah. That to me, I always reiterate that's not lapsed American comic fans going to manga. Like that's the case for some part of it, but all the manga sales and manga fans is a whole new market. That's a whole new demographic to go after. Like those are kids that have never read any Western comics. So, and Webtoons is another one. Webtoons is a huge way people are reading comics these days, especially kids, brand new comic book fans. So if you're wanting to chase those sales, you need to go chase that market. So DC's been doing things like manga. They have the Superman versus Meshi manga, the Joker manga. I think they have a Batman manga. And I'm not saying those are going to like solve all their problems or anything. I'll get to that in a second. But they're also doing Webtoons. So they have a lot of Webtoons that they're now collecting into collected editions. The idea isn't to come out with those manga. Like I don't think they have any aspirations or thought process thinking that Superman versus Meshi manga is going to blow the market wide open and outsell X-Men #1 by Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. The idea is to be put on bookshelves next to manga and to attract those fans into pulling them into their normal catalog of comics. So maybe they pick up a Superman versus Meshi. Maybe they like it. Maybe they like, maybe I'll try out a Superman comic, and they go and find a Superman comic, and then you rope them in that way. Same thing with Webtoons. Maybe they're on Webtoons reading their normal Webtoons or whatever. They click on the Zatanna one or the Batman one or whatever. They like it, and then they go buy some Batman Zatanna comics. So the idea is not to like blow up the sales with those, but it's to be put on bookshelves or whatever, be put in front of the eyes of these other fans. So if Jim Lee's in charge of that aspect, then I'd say he's doing a good job. But I don't know, like, because like the what do you call it? The new direction for DC over the last year with the like Dark Crisis. Where's Jake at? I need his help on this one. He's like the modern DC guy. Like it seems like it's picking up a lot of fans and introducing a lot of new characters. So that initiative, I think, has been moderately successful. And the fact that Jim Lee is hand in hand with James Gunn is awesome. James Gunn's overseeing all the DC movies. The fact that he is working closely with DC Comics on what collected editions and stuff they're putting out, I think it's great. The fact that James Gunn is promoting the movies with comic books directly is amazing. That's one thing I always say Marvel failed at. I think the biggest failure of the MCU period is not creating a bunch of new comic book fans out of the MCU. And it seems like James Gunn's trying to have those all tied together, which is another. How many times has that sound gone off now? Which is another aspect of manga that they have going for them, is that manga integrates the manga, the anime, and the toys and the video games. They're all integrated within each other as one marketing machine. And with Western comics, it seems so separate. It's almost like you have movie fans, you have comic fans, you have toy collectors. Like they're not integrated. So that's another thing I would say that Jim Lee seemingly is doing. Will there be a Devil's Grin omnibus this year? Discuss. Well, I don't know. Is there enough? I would like to see a nice hardcover though, because I think she's put out like 5 issues so far, right? I heard the rumor that Rob Liefeld said Marvel asking Jim Lee to come back to X-Men. That would have been awesome. Yeah, that's what we just talked about, Richard. That was the first news topic. What about Glenn Miller? How many records did he move? I don't know. Top 40 hits all the time. Most top 10 hits. Taylor, is there an artist that hasn't written X-Men that you would like to see write X-Men? Good question. Daniel Warren Johnson, writing and drawing. I would say that. I mean, we've seen, like, it blows my mind that Daniel Warren Johnson, and it could be his choice. It could be like maybe Marvel did reach out to do more stuff, but it blows my mind that Daniel Warren Johnson did the Beta Ray Bill series, and it was so good. It looked amazing. It looked like no other comic that Marvel was putting out at the time. Then he even did a strip or two for. I know he did a strip for Deadpool, Black, White, and Blood. But then he went off and did his own thing with Do a Powerbomb, and then Robert Kirkman snatched him up for Transformers. Like, how did Marvel let him out of their grasp? Like, it should have been like Dana Ward Johnson, back up the Brinks truck. We're going to give you an X-Men book and let you do whatever you want with it or whatever. But I'd say Dana Ward Johnson, writing and drawing. Give me a Dana Ward Johnson Beast miniseries. That would be awesome. Dana Ward Johnson on Beast. Comics are dope. Thank you for joining me, BJ Kicks. Subscribe to his channel as well. Great YouTuber. Yeah, Beast miniseries would be cool. That's what I'm talking about. These like stylized artists that look different, like they bring people to the comic book racks based on their name. I think in Marvel's, the word has always been that Marvel's always been afraid of that, because last time they put all their eggs in the basket of the artists was the early 90s with McFarlane, Larson, Liefeld, Lee, and look what happened. They all left for Image. But I mean, you got to get over yourselves and stop doing that. Like, if you want to boost your sales, this is a visual medium. Boost it with artists. Get people excited about this new comic book. If you're going to say Daniel Warren Johnson, the guy that did Murder Falcon, the guy that did Transformers, the guy that did Do a Powerbomb, that did Beta Ray Bill, that did Wonder Woman Dead Earth, he's doing Beast now, or he's doing like New Mutants or X-Force. X-Force would be awesome. Like, who doesn't want to, like, who wouldn't get up for that? But I don't know. I digress. Let's move on to the next news topic. How about that? Keep it going though. Everybody keep talking in the chat. And then after each news topic, I'll go back to the chat and catch up with you guys. And feel free to comment on what I'm talking about. That'd be cool too. All right, so let's share my screen on this one. Boom. All right, make sure that's looking okay. All right, good. X out on all these lame pop-ups. All right, so this is the news that came out yesterday. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book license renewed by IDW, Paramount exclusive. The deal will now allow the publisher to the deal will allow the publisher to release a number of projects tied to the 40th anniversary of the Turtles. Twiddles. So yeah, IDW has been publishing TMNT comics. I don't know how long it's been now. They've I don't think it says on here, but Paramount bought out TMNT, the license for TMNT in 2009. I think is when Eastman sold them to TMNT or TMNT to Paramount. And shortly after that's when IDW picked up the license, and they have now been publishing their own ongoing series, which is reaching 150 soon, issue number 150. And those have been collected in, I think they're up to like 15 volumes of those hardcovers that look really nice. In addition to that, IDW has also published the classic material across 7 Ultimate Collection hardcovers, and now they're reprinting those into giant hardcover compendiums, which they're on volume 2 of. And IDW has also done the TMNT. What was it called? I love that series too. I can't remember. Dang it! It's a classic material that Image printed back in the early '90s with Eric Larson was overseeing it, but it was Gary something or other was the artist on it. Gary Carlson was the artist on it. And that series is so much fun. They released those in 2 trade paperbacks, including a conclusion to that series, because that series was never concluded with Image. And I think IDW like reprinted them as single issues, and then published the last few issues to conclude the series, and then they put them into 2 trade paperbacks. I can't remember what that's called. I don't know, but that's such a fun series. It's like a reboot for like 24 issues or so, and it tells like the story, but it's like super ultra violent and like early 90s kind of bombastic style. And like it's so much fun. I love Turtles in general. I've always been a Turtles fan, dating back to collecting the action figures and watching the cartoons. All my old Turtle action figures I still have. My son plays with them. But and then the big seller was last year was The Last Ronin, was a huge seller for IDW, and you can now find that and its follow up, The Lost Years. Those hardcovers, you can find them in like Walmart's and Targets, I think, which again is a good way to introduce your stuff to new fans. So yeah, they've been doing a lot of stuff with the license, and this is important for IDW because IDW lost the license to Transformers and G.I. Joe through the Hasbro license. So it wasn't just those 2, but those were the 2 big ones. They also lost like Micronauts and ROM, which are big sellers. So the only thing that they really had left was TMNT, which is a huge seller for him. And Last Ronin was a major boon for him last year. So the fact that if they lost this license, I'd be very much in fear that IDW was going to cease to exist. Like that's how big of a deal this is. They do have the licenses Star Trek and Godzilla, I should also mention, but TMNT is the big one. But they got to get out of licensed comics too. I think one of the properties they lost last year was Kanto, Kanto, Kanto was the creator-owned series about the little robot guy. It's like steampunk, I think. That was a pretty big seller as an indie book, and then it got optioned for an animated feature. I don't know where the option stands right now as far as like production and whatnot goes, but the fact that it got optioned is a big deal. And it's a creator-owned series, which means you can like hold on to it if you're the publisher and make more money off it without having to license things. They lost that to Dark Horse. So like I always say, like if you're an indie publisher, if you're not one of the big 2, the best thing to do is to have in your portfolio some licensed properties, some creator-owned stuff, and some manga. I think it's like the 3-fold way to have a good strong portfolio for a publisher. I think Dark Horse does this the best. They have always tapped into the manga market. They started off as a publisher in licensing. They've licensed they started off licensing Aliens and Predator was like the first two big comics they published, and they had some creator-owned stuff then, like The American and some other stuff. But those were the 2 that like really shot them up the ranks as far as like a comic book company. But then they didn't just rest on their loyal laurels of those few licensed properties. They started doing creator-owned stuff. Like they had Sin City with Frank Miller and Hellboy with Mike Mignola. So they had this portfolio building of these licensed properties and this creator-owned stuff. And then they got into the manga market. And now they're doing, I've talked about this on a previous episode, where they have these imprints with different creators. Like Matt Kent has an imprint. Brian Michael Bendis has an imprint with Dark Horse. Eric Powell has an imprint with Dark Horse. Kevin Smith, the movie director, has an imprint with Dark Horse. So I really like how Dark Horse is building their portfolio. Blaze Comics and Titan Comics are also building in their portfolios to have, I keep saying portfolio, catalogs. Maybe I should say catalog. Maybe that's more proper. Manga though, they're adding manga to their catalogs. So IDW, they need to add more creator-owned stuff, and then also I would pick up some manga if I was them, and try to find some manga licenses they can print and publish. Because again, it's like that thing where I talked about earlier with like DC, how they're branching out to webtoons and manga. You want to have your catalog. You want to have something in your catalog that's going to attract a new fan, and then other things in your catalog they can branch off into. So maybe like someone that only reads manga, they don't read Western comics at all. They come to Dark Horse for Berserk or Lone Wolf and Cub or whatever it is. Sorry. And but then maybe they veer off into something like a Hellboy or Sin City or something like that. I don't know. I will say Boom Studios too, I'll to finish off here, has been doing a good job with getting, they started off as like mostly licensed properties with like Power Rangers, and didn't they have My Little Pony also was a big deal for them? I think they did My Little Pony. But now they're doing a lot of creator-owned stuff with like Something That's Killing the Children was a huge thing for them. What's the Once on Future with Dan Mora and Kieran Gillen was a huge one for them. And Something That's Killing the Children's only branched off into more miniseries and whatnot. So Boom Studios is expanding their catalog. And because Something Is Killing the Children brought in so many people, I can see them releasing a bunch of new horror series to try to keep those fans in the fold. What are you guys saying about this, though? What do you guys think? News rumor: Floyd Tangeman taking over the next run of Batman. Discuss. I saw Fabian Nicieza's interview on Near Mint Condition yesterday. I hope we get a Marvel Universe by Fabian Nicieza Omni one day, or a Fabian Nicieza X-Men Omnibus. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think those creator-owned stuff, Omnibus, are underrated. I'm more into like the artist-centric ones though, like the Art Adams one that just came out. I think it's really cool. But yeah, Fabian's. I like Fabian's writing. I don't believe any of these news stories. Cycle discuss. Oh, Connor Craig's in the house. How you doing, Connor? Is the next topic about where the hell Ultra Mega is at? How long have we been waiting on that sequel? Also, how the hell is there no collectors or deluxe or fancy edition of that yet? Connor, that's a great point. I brought up James Herron earlier, and I agree. Ultra Mega was amazing. The fact that we didn't get a giant kaiju-sized version of that comic book is a travesty. I think anytime you have a kaiju comic, I don't care what it is, it should be released in a mega, ultra kaiju-sized hardcover. That's the way to pull you into that story of like these massive monsters fighting and whatnot. But yes, Ultra Mega should be getting a hardcover deluxe edition. I looked up that though on the sequel, and the only thing I'd find is James Herron's working on it. I don't know. Josh, you calling Rob Liefeld a liar? Who would call Rob Liefeld a liar? You can't spell Liefeld without lie, though. No, I like Liefeld. I'm a huge Liefeld fan. Do we know how long the TMNT will last? I didn't see an end. No, that's what I wanted to find too. The license date, as far as renewing the license, no word on when. Which I mean, I think most publishers, I guess, there's probably a reason behind it. They never list that. Like, we didn't know how long Marvel had the Conan license. We don't know how long they have the ROM and Micronauts license. We don't know how long Paramount is in cahoots with IDW on this one. I don't know if they do that for intentionally, but I don't know if some sort of industry insiders. I guess it's my job to find out, right? Can figure that out. Heron's attempts to reboot the book as Ultra Mega is causing delays. He's rebooting Ultra Mega? Why is he rebooting it? What? Explain that. I need to grab those compendiums. Oh, of the TMNT. I have on one of my most popular videos on my channel actually is covering the first 6 volumes of the Ultimate Collections. And I will say this. I think they're between the Ultimate Collections and the compendiums, there are some rights issues with some issues. So like they're not going to collect the same issues in both of them. But I will say this though. If you're wanting that classic TMNT material, you got to go black and white. And I think I showed off in that video why. But and I was explaining this to my son last night because that's been what we've been reading at bedtime the last couple of days is TMNT by Eastman and Laird, the early stuff. But they released colored editions of those books too. And what the problem with that is that when those early issues they use duo shade, which is like this you can see it on the artwork. If you like look at some of the faces and stuff, you can see like this texture design on it. Sometimes people will sorry, I'm trying to think of the duotone. Duotone's the other one where people can like cut out around it and put that onto it. It's a way of adding like some color to the image because you're doing black and white, but to add that on there is like adding some gray tones to it or whatever. So they use this duotone, which adds that texture in those dots if you look at the image closely. But when they did that, when they applied color to it because of the way that the original art was, it like drops out a lot of the duotone. So there's one image in particular that's like super egregious, which I show the image on that video where it shows the colored version and then the original black and white version. And it drops out like the entire background to it and all this detail in the artwork, it drops out of it. And I know some people say they have an aversion to black and white comics, which I don't understand personally, but I get it. But if you want TMNT, go those compendium routes or the old Ultimate Collections. That's definitely the way to go. I know part of the sales to Paramount was being able to keep making the comic. It's a win-win for Paramount. Absolutely. And the fact that Eastman stayed on it, which I think is what you're implying here, was a huge boon for them as well. He's been at least co-writing all those issues for that of the ongoing series that we're going up to 150. And then he does like variant covers, which is great. I love Eastman's art. His art is awesome. I hate that they lost Ghostbusters. I know. And then Ghostbusters hasn't really done much. They have Lock and Key. That's true. That is like a big creator-owned property they own. I think they wish the Netflix series was a bigger success, though. I kind of had the feeling that they thought the Netflix Lock and Key series was going to be like Stranger Things as far as popularity. And it did okay, but it wasn't this huge mega popular series. So I think it's fine to stay in licensed work, just diversify a bit. Dynamite seems to be snatching up a lot this year. Yeah, Dynamite has done they're another publisher that does do they have any creator-owned stuff? I think they mostly just dabble in licensed properties. But you're right. I mean, diversifying in not being in a position where you can just lose. I mean, losing Hasbro for IDW was like, I don't know that G.I. Joe was ever very successful for them, to be honest, though. Just judging from like their collected editions lines that they kind of ended at a certain point, and then their ongoing series was never a big seller. So I think it was just Transformers was the big one they lost in the Hasbro deal. Taylor, you aren't wrong, but can they afford it? They owe so much cash, so hard to get new things. I mean, that's true. But that's like, if you can't afford a big license, that's why I'm saying you have to really make your catalog diverse, is because creator-owned stuff is cheaper for a publisher, especially if it's a newer, upcoming cartoonist. And you have to take some chances. Like you're not gonna find a creator and be like, oh, there's the next Hellboy, right away. You're gonna have to hire and try out 25, 30 series before you find your Hellboy. But that's all cheaper than paying for a license, because paying for that license means that every time you release a comic book collected edition or whatever of that property, you're paying the license holder money out of that. So it's like, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say you sell a $4 comic book. Well, maybe the licensor gets $2 of that. You sell a $4 comic book, creator owned. Maybe you only have to pay the creator owned 50 cents out of that kind of thing. So, but you want those licensed properties to bring fans in from the outside, like Stranger Things. Dark Horse has Stranger Things comics. It's a huge property that probably has a lot of crossover with comic book fans. You bring those fans in to read your Stranger Things comics. Maybe they stay and pick up your Hellboy comics or what have you. Comics are dope, but I'm shocked how many Dynamite titles aren't at Marvel. Power Rangers has legit never been bad. Every run on that has been incredible. Yes, Connor is a big fan of that. Power Rangers from not just the Kyle Higgins run, but the Ryan Parrott run, he's always telling me, has been phenomenal as well. Boom, big moneymaker was Adventure Time and a regular show back in the day. See, 2 more licenses. Now they're eating DC's lunch too. I hope Marvel either releases Dark Web in an OHC or does an omnibus of the event. I'm sure. I think David Gabriel told Omar that this wasn't like an official thing that's going to happen guaranteed, but his kind of plan was to have an event omnibus come out 1 year after the event ends. So, like, what's the event right now that Marvel's doing? Well, they just finished Dark Web. So, like, a year after Dark Web finished, there should be an omnibus. It's kind of the plan, I guess. The other issue with the big 2, they are more concerned with movies and TV. I'm hoping Gunn helps comics out. Boom has a lot of great titles. I agree. And that's what I was just saying earlier. It's that James Gunn seems very adamant about including and integrating the comics into the movies. And that doesn't mean that whatever happens in the movies has to happen in the comics or vice versa. It just means that he's saying we're going to adapt the Superman Legacy movie. It's going to have a lot of influence from the All-Star Superman run by Morrison and Quitely. So if you want to see what the inspiration is, go buy that comic and then go see Superman Legacy. And it's what I don't know. Can you guys even hear that? But that's what I keep saying, that Marvel failed. Like, they had all of these billion-dollar box office movies. Huge success. I think one of the greatest successes in film history was what they did with the MCU and across those 20 plus movies from Iron Man through Endgame. But the fact that they did not turn over a lot of those fans into comic book fans is a travesty. The fact that you didn't go into your department stores and at the checkout line or whatever, there weren't trade paperbacks with signage on them saying, hey, do you like that Iron Man movie? Read this trade paperback. Do you like the Avengers? Read this trade paperback. Or even at like the box office at the movie theater, having comic books or whatever. Just a massive. And then inside those books, have some names of some comic book shops or a comic book shop locator or whatever to try to get those fans to then go to the comic book shop. But yeah, I think James Gunn's doing better at that. Taylor didn't read that comment closely. Oh, sorry. Did I miss something? There's a lot of comments coming in. Richard agrees with you, Josh. Richard has his moments. Or no, you have your moments. Josh did the cover for regular show number 5, cover C. Oh, really? Josh, I didn't know that. I'm going to have to look that cover up. That's awesome. I'm assuming you mean Josh Greathouse. It seems like Gunn has helped DC with comics a lot so far. Okay, sure. It's just an on-focused line based on the media they are creating, but it's cool to see so many books he advertised to do so well. Yeah, that blew me away. And because and Connor, you know this too. I've been on that horse or that soapbox or whatever, saying that the MCU is not making comic book fans forever. So when James Gunn got announced as like the overseeing all of DCU, I guess they're calling it now, they dropped the E, DCU. And the first thing that he did was come out, announce the projects, and each project was attached to a comic book, saying like it had like a picture of a comic book, or they used comic book art for the project. And then those sales for those comic books skyrocketed. Like the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. Like that book, he advertised it in attachment with this, saying it's going to be inspired by this. And that book sold out on Amazon instantly, like that day. So like not even the movies coming out, just James Gunn simply doing that. Prove my point and prove to me that Marvel failed so many times, time and time again. Because like the collected edition department at Marvel, this is not a rag on them at all, because they were doing a good job of integrating these things. Like when this movie came out, they had an omnibus come out in concurrent with it. What I'm talking about with like, if you like this movie, you should buy this trade paperback. Marvel has those. They have like those Marvel Saga books that they come out with, or Marvel Verse books, like those more digest sized ones. So Marvel, the collected edition department does that. It's like, I don't know if it's the marketing department or whatever. They're not pushing those out to the movie fans though. Like it's like they're making this product for comic book fans that are already there, which is great. I'm sure they're interested. When a movie comes in, they're hyped up. They want to go read that comic book that is attached to the movie. But those books are not being pushed out to the new fans. That's who you should be going after. Anyone else pick up Thundercats #1 by Declan Shalvey? Oh, I didn't know he was doing Thundercats. I've subbed on the off chance it's mega awesome. That sounds awesome, though. We can slightly hear it, but more fun with you stopping. Sorry. I'm excited about the upcoming Marvel crossover event Blood Hunt by Jed MacKay and Pepe Larraz. I need to read a lot of the Jed MacKay stuff. My friend Lohit, who's in the chat sometimes, talks about how much he loves Jed MacKay's recent Marvel work, but I'm behind on that. He actually lived in my city in Scotland for 5 years. He's referring to Declan Shalvey. Can confirm he is a really nice guy. Always helps when supporting someone. Yeah, Connor met Declan Shalvey at Thought Bubble. Letting some Koreans into the coal. Canaries in the coal mine. I hope it's good. The worst part about the MCU, I would leave the movie wanting to enjoy more of that character, but didn't know where to go. Womp womp. Yeah, his interview with Omar made me want to support his work. He seems like a good dude for sure. Oh yeah, Omar interviewed Declan Shalvey recently. You would have thought that Kevin Feige would promote comics since he was the one sneaking comics to the actors when he was working on X-Men in 2000. Marvel has to do better. I agree. It blows my mind. It really does. I don't get it. Because there's even stories about like Benedict Cumberbatch said that he walked into a comic book shop dressed in full regalia, full costume of Doctor Strange. He stepped into a comic book shop and bought a Doctor Strange comic. First of all, why was that not filmed for YouTube? Where was Marvel's marketing team on that one? You have Benedict Cumberbatch dressed up as Doctor Strange going and buying a comic book in a comic book shop. Marvel's marketing team, social media, that would have been a viral video. Easy. Maybe they did film it. I missed it. I don't know. Let me know. But like it, I don't know. You guys understand what I'm saying. I don't need to keep ranting about it. Woman of Tomorrow is quite possibly my favorite comic book of all time. It battles out with the Omega Man. I can't help but love King. And Tom King, though. James Gunn announced that he has like his brain trust of creators and writers and stuff working on the DCU with him. And Tom King was listed in that group. He's in the picture that he posted, which is great. Where in Scotland are you? I'm in Edinburgh. Connor, I can answer that. He's from Aberdeen. I don't know where Aberdeen is in conjunction with Edinburgh, though. Two fellow Scotsmen in the house, though. Or not fellow, sorry. Two, your fellows for each other. Your fellow Scotsmen to each other. I'm from America, obviously. I'm definitely upgrading to the deluxe edition of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I've not read that story, much to Connor's chagrin, but I will be picking up that deluxe edition based on that. I'm guessing the mouse doesn't think comics are worth it. They outsource all their books to other companies. I know they don't make much off comics compared to others like this shirt. To the others like the shirt. Yeah. If that's their mentality, which I don't know if it is, I think it's just something people said, because comics are not as big of a moneymaker to Disney as like the movies are. Just like dollars to donuts. That's just like the facts of it. But the movies would not exist without the comics. The comics to them, for better or worse, are their sounding board, their what do you call it? Their where do they get all their ideas? I'm trying to think of the word. So they need the comics to then perpetuate more ideas for the movies. Because for whatever reason, there's not a union with comics, so they're not making, the writers and creators are not making money off their stuff being adapted. That's a whole nother topic. But they need those comics to exist for the movies. And they should invest in it. And it's it's just leaving money on the table, I think. Because like look at something like One Piece. One Piece in Japan is like the biggest, like most massive property in existence or something like that. Some crazy fact or whatever. That's not just based off the manga. That's not just based off the anime. That's not just based off of the movies adaptations. That's not just based off the toys. That's all of it is included in that. So to use that same mentality and say, One Piece, like the manga's, people like it, but let's really just focus on the movies. Like that's such a stupid mentality to me. I don't understand it. I'm not saying that, Josh, you're saying that, but I'm just saying like if that's what their mentality is. That's another thing MC doesn't do is give credit to the writers and comics in their movies. Yes, absolutely. And they've gotten better about it, but still nowhere near where they need to be. And even DC does do that, but it's the very end of the credits. You barely see it, like in that, like a lot of those creators will post like on social media, like, "Hey, my name was in the credits," which is cool. But like James Gunn saying, "I'm basing this Supergirl movie off of this Supergirl comic by Tom King," and I forget the artist's name. I'm not purposely leaving off the name. I just forget who the artist was. But to specifically associate it with those creators, it elevates their name at least, and then they can. I don't know. I try not to dive into too many, branch off into too many other topics here. Aberdeen, I've had some wild nights there. I once woke up on a ferry after a night in Aberdeen. I wonder if you guys have crossed paths then. I did order Immortal Hulk Omnibus and Black Cat by Jed MacKay. Can't wait to receive those books. I need to get that Immortal Hulk book. I read the first 20 issues of that, and then I was like, I'm just going to wait for an omnibus at this point. But it was so good. This is why we need DC to be strong. Push back on Marvel and get better for the... Yeah. I mean, when James Gunn... I'm such a James Gunn fan. The James Gunn trilogy of Guardians of the Galaxy is my Star Wars, I always say. I think it's better than the Star Wars original trilogy. I always joke with, those are good movies. But like that, those Guardians of the Galaxy movies are like that important to me. Like I love those movies so much. James Gunn's such a great creator. So when he was announced to go to DC, I was really sad because I was like, I kind of want him to just make Guardians of the Galaxy movies for like my rest of my life. But I have so much faith in him and faith in what he sees as what a good comic book movie is, while also tying into the original source material. So when he was announced to go there, I'm like, yes, because he's going to be able to hopefully elevate DC movies in a way that Marvel's going to get off their butts and maybe get back to where they were. I do wish we got more cartoons based off the comic. A lot of people get into manga when they don't want to wait for the next season and go read the book. That'd be a cool thing. Because I always say that I don't really care for one-to-one adaptations. Like the fact that manga and anime are so closely related. Are so closely adapted, like one-to-one adaptations so exactly like each other, is boring to me personally. But I can see that it's very popular, so maybe I'm in the wrong there. But I always like to see something different. I like to see a new creator, a new thought, new artist, new director, whatever, take something and then show like their version of it in a way that's still faithful to the source material. It's kind of like how I view it. But like, I guess a good way to do that would be to have like an animated route be a one-to-one adaptation of the comics. That'd be cool. Johnny said something I don't understand what this means. Flate don ties bien da biao black. I probably butchered that pronunciation. But same to you, Johnny. I don't know what you said. I find it frustrating because I honestly think DC's quality has been way better than Marvel's in the last 15 to 20 years, more consistent and cohesive. They don't ram so many events down your throat. And Connor's referring to the comics there, just from conversations that him and I have had. But I agree. I mean, just personally, I'm not super interested in a lot of modern runs of comics. I'm either into like Golden, Silver Age, Bronze Age superhero comics or like indie comics of today. But of the modern runs I've read, I would say DC does seem to be more cohesive, which is funny because that's kind of how Marvel was back in the 60s, right? It's kind of like a reverse. The big two need to recognize that not everyone wants to read stories about superheroes all the time. I agree. If James Gunn and his DCU does great, it will help Marvel do better by healthy competition. When one does well, it pushes the other to do better. That's why I've never picked one or the other. I agree 100% with everything you said. It feels like there's a little stigma around DC, though. There should be a QR code before the trailer with the preview for some comics. Bite the bullet and give out the 60s comic away for free. Yeah, like giving away free comics in that kind of way. Having like even on like the Viz Media or Shonen Jump app we're talking about manga, like they have like the most recent chapters or maybe the first few chapters of certain manga for free. Like you don't even need to be subscribed to the app. You can just go on there, jump on there and read some chapters for free. Marvel and DC both have digital comic book reading apps. Give away some for free on there. Say like, you don't need to sign up for anything. We're going to put Infinity Gauntlet 1 through 6 up there for free to get you hyped for this movie. Things like that. That would be awesome, Josh. Have lived in both Aberdeen and Edinburgh. Loved my time in Scotland. Suicide Squad was amazing since it was him off the... Yes, I agree. I love that movie too. Oh, and then Peacemaker was another great James Gunn property. Supposed to be Scottish for welcome to the live show, boys. Oh, then Connor, I wonder if you understood that. Johnny said, welcome to the live show, guys. In Scottish, comics are dope. I'm assuming you use Google Translate. You don't speak Scottish, do you? According to Google. Okay, there we go. I was going to say, I was going to be impressed. I was like, I didn't know that about you, BJ. BJ Kicks. Google Translate to the rescue. After Oz, I was hoping we would get more Marvel non-hero stuff. I keep hoping they would do more with their Disney side, like Gargoyle's done with Marvel writers and artists. Yes, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'd be down for that for sure. Branch out a little bit. DC Universe has that going right now. Free previews for all the Dawn of DC books in DC Infinite. Just the first issues, no full story arcs. That's what I was trying to think of. The Dawn of DC. That was like the initiative, the most recent initiative by DC, where they really started introducing a lot of new characters to the fold and really tried to expand things in a big way. And that was all under Jim Lee. I mean, you can make the argument that it branched out of whatever the rumors were with Dan Didio's 5G, whatever, if that was even a thing. That was probably a lot of the seed planting. So maybe Dan Didio had a little bit of hand in it, but Jim Lee's the guy that was like steering that ship. Yeah, I understood that. Closes Google Translate. Wait, do you not? I'll talk to you about that after. I thought you do you not speak Scottish? Is Scottish even like? Am I sounding like a stupid American by saying that? Oh, the last news topic for the day. I do want to talk about this because this is interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you as well. And then we'll get out of here. This has been a long show, and it's because the chat's been so lively, which I appreciate. Also, everybody give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. It goes a long way to help the channel. And when the show's over, if you can share this channel with your friends on social media, that'd be great also. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a little bit of your time. And the OPB codes are going down to the bottom of the screen right now. Use those, and I get a little bit of kickback, and also super chats are live if you want to support the channel that way. All right, so DC Comics. This is coming from bleedingcool.com. DC Comics have told Marvel that they own Machine Man. This was super interesting. Earlier this week, we looked at DC when DC realized that Warner Bros. Owned a lot of intellectual property they could turn into comics. DC lays claim to Marvel's Machine Man, citing ownership over IP origins. Machine Man's roots traced back to Kirby's work on 2001: A Space Odyssey comics. Marvel informed by DC of potential copyright issues with future Machine Man work, and speculation arises on Machine Man joining DC's roster, possibly the Justice Gang. Okay, so earlier this week, Bleeding Cool took a look at DC, realized owned, even though they didn't do a lot with it. But we got Mad Max, Hanna-Barbera, Lost Boys, Django Unchained comic books out of it. Just no Dirty Harry, Goonies, or Mortal Kombat. Goonies would be a great comic book series. I didn't even think about that. So DC has Goonies. Like, you want to talk about a fun all ages comic you can make a whole series out of that's not superheroes? Goonies. I mean, like that's just like ripe for the picking. and get a really fun like cartoonist on the job. Get like a Roger Langridge or somebody on there. Man, I would be pitching a Goonies series right now. If I was a comics maker, I would be going to DC and pitching a Goonies series. Any of the comics makers in the chat, go do that. Maybe I'll join in with you. But I did discover as part of my journey that DC Comics decided that they own Marvel's Machine Man character, all because he began as X-51, a character in Jack Kirby adaptation and continuation of the Stanley Kubrick movie 2001: Space Odyssey. So if you didn't know, Jack Kirby, when he came back to Marvel in the 70s, did the film adaptation. It was a nice treasury-sized treasury-sized issue. It's one of the whales I've always wanted to hunt down, a good copy of this treasury edition of 2001: A Space Odyssey. If anyone in the chat has a tip on one, let me know. I've wanted one badly for years. But because it's just like amazing 70s Kirby artwork, and Jack Kirby's my all-time favorite artist. But he did the adaptation for 2001: A Space Odyssey that then followed up into a 10-issue series of 2001: A Space Odyssey, where he was expanding the mythos after the movie. And then Machine Man debuts as X-51, I think in issue 7 or 8. I have all those issues. I have issues 1 through 10 of that series, and I have all of Machine Man in a trade paperback, which is great because Jack Kirby does the first 10 issues, and then Steve Ditko does the last 9 issues. So it's like half done by Kirby, half done by Ditko. Like you can't get any better than that, right? But we've never had I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen. We've never had that reprinted in any fashion. The 2001: Space Odyssey Treasury Edition. So that's one of the reasons why it's always sought after, or highly sought after. And those 10 issues have never been reprinted as well because of licensing. The Machine Man stuff afterwards has been, because that just became a Marvel character from there. The concepts of the name 2001: A Space Odyssey were not owned by Marvel, so those have never been reprinted. But now that DC owns the rights to it, or they have owned it, they just now realized it, I guess. Maybe they do the Jack Kirby 2001: A Space Odyssey Treasury Edition reprint. I would love that. That'd be amazing. Could they do the issues 1 through 10 from Marvel? Maybe. That might be a little bit more hairy though. And do they own Machine Man because he debuted in a 2001 Space Odyssey comic book? Who knows? I do know that when I was collecting those 10 issues though, that first appearance by Machine Man was a key issue. And I'm not into keys and CGCs and slabs and whatnot. We talked about that in the last episode. But I was trying to get the 10 issues, and that issue was so dang hard to come across at a good price. And I think when I say good price, I'm saying that people were paying like $50 to $100 for this one issue. I was not about that. I think I ended up finding one in a lot of other issues of comics for like less than $20. I got lucky. It came with that and like 20 other issues. Because I just wanted that issue to read. I didn't want it to slab it or whatever. So I don't know, but it's very interesting. This fact that, because I never thought we'd ever get a 2001: Space Odyssey collected edition. And to be honest, if Marvel did publish it, they probably wouldn't do a good job with it. They'd probably do their garish Marvel Masterworks treatment to it, and it wouldn't look as good. But because I wanted to look like it was on newsprint. I wanted to be that on newsprint. I wanted to give it the same treatment that like Taschen gives like their collected editions for Marvel. That's the treatment I want for it to be reprinted. If not, then I want to find an old copy. That's it. But interesting nonetheless. What do you guys have to say about this? Comixology offered all the first Marvel first issues for free. It crashed the site because it was so popular. No lessons learned. Well, that sounds like they should try it again. Most of the Scottish I know is slang and not safe for work. You play golf is what I'm assuming. I play golf like Happy Gilmore at his worst. Great movie. Everyone in the chat, have a good rest of the day as well. Taylor, great stream. See you next time. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, Richard. Take care. DC has a ton of IP they ignore. Pirates of the Dark Waters. You have to pitch stuff to Dynamite now. They have the WB license. Well, heck, a Goonies series of Dynamite. I'll pitch that. How many billions has Kirby's ideas made? You can't even put a number to it. Just the MCU alone would be billions. But yeah, Absolutely. We need Pirates of the Dark Water to come back. I used to have the Machine Man issues that featured Alpha Flight characters. I'm terrible at it. Absolute 2001. That'd be cool. Because I've always dreamed of having 2001 in a. Because I bought those 10 issues to do a custom bound book, but the Treasury edition would be left out of it because the trim size is different. But an Absolute edition, you might be able to put both of them in there. But anyways, that's the news for today. It's been a long show, so I'm not going to go over any sort of the comics and stuff that are coming out this week. If you want me to do a separate video on that, I can. But as I go for my last minute plugs, say anything else you want to say in chat, ask me more questions, and I'll address those after my plugs. But as you can see on the banner ad down here, shop at organicpricebooks.com with promo code Taylor Talks Comics, all one word, and that'll save you $2 off of every order. So you save money, and then I get a little kickback back to this channel to help out. But if you're going to put a bigger order in, you're going to want to use TTC Ship It Together. So if you shop at Organic Price Books and order 4 or more books, use TTC Ship It Together. That's all one word as well. You'll save 5% off of that order. If you want to email me with any show ideas, comic book news topics, comic books you want me to cover, etc., you can email me at TaylorTalksPodcasts@gmail.com. That's TaylorTalksPodcasts@gmail.com. You can email me there. You can follow me on Twitter at TM Talks Comics, on Instagram, TikTok, and other social media platforms. You can find me at Taylor Talks Comics. Anything else before we get out of here? Still hoping they print their Eric series. Yes, that and Warlord too. If you go to 2001 or 2000 AD online, you can get some free digital comics. If you sub to the free weekly newsletter, you also get a bunch of free digital comics featuring Judge Dredd. 2000 AD is something I need to dive more into. Super laugh hard, especially the modern stuff. I'd like to see what they're doing as far as their modern runs, and then I need to read a lot more classic Judge Dredd stuff. How long do you want these videos to be, out of curiosity? As long as you guys talk to me. No, when I start doing interview, my ultimate goal for this show would be to do about 2 hours, to do like an hour of the news and then do 2 half-hour interviews with 2 different creators. Would be like that's like the way I want the show to be formatted going forward in the future. Like that's my goal I'm trying to achieve. But anywhere from 1 hour to 2 hours, I guess. Not more than 2 hours. I think that's a little bit too long. Everyone needs more Dredd. Did you get my last email? I'll check it right after the show. Thanks for your time and energy, Taylor. Another great show. Thank you. Thank you. Man, I want to read Warlord and some other IP. You'll like The Out and Thistlebone, methinks. Modern 2000 AD. I'm going to write those down. Thanks, Super Laugh Hard. Thanks for the recommendations. The Out and Thistlebone. Because 2000 AD was such a had such a plethora of great comics writers and artists when they first started, which then DC poached a lot of those. And I'm just assuming that there's a lot of great writers and artists working there now that are going to be, more mainstream in the future, I guess. Yes, 2000 Absolute 2001 plus Commandy. So you don't want to be 4-hour show like Omnidog. No, I don't, and I can't, because eventually on a normal day when my son's not here, I have to go pick him up at some point. Which Commandy just got an ending with Kirby. Yeah. I wonder if they'll collect those post Kirby Commandy issues one day. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it so much. Look for more videos coming out this week. Share my videos, share my channel with your friends on social media. I appreciate that so much. It goes a long way. And everybody have a great week. Look forward to more videos. I'll see you next week, Tuesday at noon Eastern on next week. Thanks.